Hello, I'm Skyler from the Sky. Today's video is about what I like and don't like in books and what makes me pick up a book. So let's start there with what makes me pick up a book. The first thing that makes me pick up a book is usually the spine, since that is the first thing that is typically seen in the bookstore. And with the spine is the title. By the way, I do have my cat in here. It's a different cat than the last video. She's a good girl, but she does love plastic bags, so I apologize for the crinkling. This is Jingle Bells. She's the oldest cat I have. She is also the best cat I have. She's the most laid back and the sweetest one I own. Back to what I was talking about. So, since the first thing I see is the spine, that's what has to jump out to me the most and what makes me want to read it. And then along with that would be the title. If the title sounds good, I will pick it up and look at the cover. I know they say don't judge a book by its cover, but come on, we all do it. Let's be honest here. We all do it. I do it too. I am very guilty of it. The synopsis usually will fascinate me. I will say that right now. Usually it will grip me no matter what. Of course, some grip me more than others, and I'm more interested in some books than other books. Now, there's like some telltale signs that I'm more interested in a book than others. Like, if it has dragons, I will most likely be all over it. I'll really want it. I'll at least be more interested in it. There are some dragon books that are really cheesy that I'm not really into, but dragons are a big part. Fantasy, that's another big one. But like if a cover has stars and stuff on it, it does make me more interested in it. But those typically end up being contemporary, which I'll get to in a minute. So I don't usually go for those as much as I would like to. So if I feel really gripped by the title, the cover, and the synopsis, I might get it. It also depends on the price too. Like if it's more expensive, I'll look it up first and see what other people say. It doesn't always influence my decision a lot, but usually it does at least a little bit. Unless I'm like absolutely infatuated with it and I want it, then I'll go ahead and get it anyway, even if it's rated a little lower. Another thing that gets me to pick up books more is the hype. I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's an overhyped book, ugh. But for me, it makes me think, hey, maybe I won't be wasting my time reading that. Because honestly, I am a slower reader. I'm not an ultra slow reader, but compared to some other people I know, I am slower. Part of that is focus. I can't always focus on a book that well because I'm like, well, what if I write now? Okay, now try to read. Wait, what if I do this? I just can't focus on a book too long, even if it's good. I just don't want to sit still. I want to do other things, like even writing. I'm using my fingers to type, so that's doing something more. And also just finding the time to read more and actually focus just on reading. Don't get me wrong, I love to sit down with a good book and read it, but that isn't always the best for me. It doesn't always work for me. So sometimes it's little snippets here or there, or trying to get myself sleepy to sleep. Honestly, that doesn't work though. Even though I do still try it, it doesn't work. So whenever I find a book, it goes spine, unless they're showing the front cover, then it'll just skip to cover and title. But it'd be spine, title, cover, and then synopsis. What are you doing? Jingle bell. Hey, no. No, leave the pencil alone. Here, I'll give you this pencil. You can chew on that. Let's see if that pencil satisfies her. Oh, no, it's just gonna roll away from her. Okay. How about this pen? So she is better than Keanu at least, but she's still a mess. She loves plastic bags. She'll wake me up. If I leave her in my room, she'll wake me up by chewing and messing with a plastic bag. She'll scratch the back of my chair. I can't even write around her because she'll just chew on the end of a pencil to where I can't write. But that's okay. I loves her anyway. Okay, so back to what I was talking about. Also, another thing that I like in books, I actually like dystopian. I loved Divergent. I didn't really care for the ones after Divergent, but I loved Divergent. I loved Hunger Games. Again, didn't really care for... Actually, I liked Catching Fire. Did not really care for Mockingjay at all. So, dystopian fantasy, sci-fi is... It's not bad, but it's not like, oh my god, I need this. Adventure, I like adventure. That's the majority of what I read. so dystopian, because, and I don't feel like there's much of that around anymore, because I feel like all that there really is Divergent and Hunger Games, because it got so filled up and now it's just kind of like gone. Then you got fantasy, and then there's the sci-fi. I don't read much sci-fi, but every now and then I do like it, but it's not like my favorite genre ever. No, that has to go like fantasy or something else. And then adventure. I really like adventure books, although like some of them do get annoying, some of them get repetitive. What do I not like in books? I typically get turned off of contemporary. I don't really care for contemporary much, although I do want to read. I did read Eliza and Her Monsters, and I love that one. And I do want to read Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, and maybe a couple other Rainbow Rowell books. They draw me in because a lot of them use stars, and so they draw me in with like that kind of cover, but then they push me away because it's contemporary and I want something different than the world that we live in. There are some contemporary books I'm interested in, but overall, I'm just kind of like, I'd rather read something fantasy, something more out there, something more diverse than our world. And then romance, because romance, a lot of it, like especially contemporary romance. I read one called Field Notes on Love last year, around March 2019, because I had gotten it from a giveaway, and I was just kind of like, meh. Romance, I've never actually read Twilight. I have all 4 books of Twilight, but I've never actually read it. And that's another series that I have to try to get myself to read eventually, even though I've heard of how crappy it is. So we'll see how that goes. And then also, romance is just kind of meh for me. I don't really... There are some romances I do like, but I don't like it whenever a book is like, oh yeah, this is more dystopian. Darkest Minds. Darkest Minds is another dystopian. And I actually really liked the first Darkest Minds, but I hated the last one. Are we noticing a trend here with trilogies? Love the first one, really don't like the last one. Is that like a thing? Like, or is that just me? Is that a thing or is that just me? I don't know. But Darkest Minds, I feel like it started off more dystopian-like. There was a little bit of romance at the beginning, but then I feel like in the last book, there was still some fighting and stuff, but overall it switched a lot more to romance. That became a lot bigger part, and I didn't like it as much. It was a lot harder for me to get through. And actually Never Fade, the second book in Darkest Minds, was kind of meh for me as well. Love Darkest Minds, Never Fade was meh, and then I think it was called In the Afterlight, did not like. And I knew since I did not like In the Afterlight, I probably would not read in the trilogy again. Also, I kind of avoid historical fiction books. I'm reading one right now, but overall, they just kind of bore me. So that's it for this video. That was a bit of a rant, but I did actually enjoy it. I actually had fun doing this. I had fun ranting about what I like and don't like in books. It was still pretty broad overall, but I think it was still beneficial, and maybe you guys feel the same way, because I don't always have specific things, because maybe there's a book where I don't like unicorns, but then there's another book that does it well. So overall, I don't have like a specific thing like, no, I ain't doing that. Have a nice day, and thank you for watching. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up and maybe subscribe down below. See you later. Bye-bye.